How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Shock Shop number 2, or should I say, Shock Shop number 2. Yeah, this is a new Cullen Bunn anthology horror project, and basically you get this horror host, this lady who owns a comic book shop slash magic store. She's got a big top hat and a skeleton hand. A really interesting horror host there, but she'll be trying to get you to read her comic books. And this is, both of these stories are continuations from the last one, so it's not purely anthologies and different stories each time. They still continue, but you get one, essentially, you pick a cover, read to the halfway point, and then you flip it over and read from the other way. And it still continues week after week, although I don't know how many chapters each story is going to have. I'd be interested in hearing that. But in the first one, Familiars, we have this guy who has a bunch of monsters living in his house. You know, his house is haunted, but they seem to be nice and they seem to be doing what he wants, so maybe he can live with them. Well, the monsters are going to pay a visit to his ex-wife's jerk new husband, and maybe, you know, maybe they're his friends, but maybe they step over a few lines. We'll look at that in a minute. And then the second story, big long title, Something in the Woods in the Dark. In this one, there's some hikers, and they're being hunted by some mysterious force, and overall, last issue, I thought I knew what it was. Spoilers for number 1. But last issue, we saw the girlfriend turn into this big, horrible monster, and you think, okay, she's some sort of shapeshifter or possessed by something that can change her. But we start to see in this one that it might be bigger than that. And I really am wondering, okay, what are the rules now? What's really going on? Overall, that one's the darker, creepier one. But the other one does have this sense of comedic fun about it, you know? So overall, and I was talking about this a little bit last time, kind of theorizing what I'd feel about it, you know, it's half the length of a regular comic per story, making, you know, one total. And I was wondering what I would feel month to month, you know? Like, would I be able to remember them if they're shorter? And would it be not enough, you know, to, you know, because you read a comic and it's over and you instinctively want more, and what if it's only half a ration? You know, I've been wondering about that. Overall, really not as big a problem as I thought. Familiars especially, only having a limited number of characters, you really jump back into that one pretty easy. Now, that being said, you know, it's easy to jump back into that one because it's a really simple concept with not too many characters, and you do build more and understand more what's going on. But yeah, when this one was over, I was like, ah, man, I did want more of that. And it was the same with the other one too, but I did still feel like I got something, you know? So overall, yeah, not too bad. I was able to pick up and remember. The other one with the woods, that one, it was a little hard to remember why exactly the boyfriend and girlfriend were fighting and who all their auxiliary friends were. But that's not super important to the whole monster subplot thing. I didn't feel like I was lost, you know, so I was like, okay, I remember the gist of the story, and I can get into it pretty easy. So, yeah, I thought that this dual format thing, you know, yeah, with each story, it gets over, and you're like, ah, man, I wish I wanted more of that. But at the same time, I don't think it's that much significantly worse than whenever I read a regular month-to-month comic, and at the end I feel, I wish I wanted more of that. So, yeah, it's not that much worse, but at the same time, yeah, you can tell they are shorter, but I am wondering how long these plot arcs will be, you know? Will they go on for the full 6 issues? If so, you know, I wonder what that'll feel like in the long run, because 6 issues is a bit of time, you know, and I am wondering, you know, like essentially 6 issues, if it's month to month, it's reading half a year of comics at half length, and now I don't feel anything, but I am wondering if I will feel something in the future. But anyway, it's still a really fun book, and I really do like it. Just, yeah, thinking about pacing in the future and wondering how I'll feel in the long run. I don't know. But anyway, if you guys want to see the story in more detail, I'm going to switch to the close-up camera and we'll talk a bit more about specifics. Anyway, if you want to see more of the story, more of the art, I'll limit major spoilers, but that's a little harder because it's so short, but I'll try to avoid the ends. Anyway, if you want to see more, I'm going to switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at Shock Shop number 2. Let's take the cover a little closer to the camera. We can see it's got this gray, almost metallic logo, number 2 for $3.99, and the Dark Horse logo here. And we can see this nice cover of him walking up the stairs in his house with the monster shadow up here. That being said, the monster shadow is a little bit subdued. You know, I kind of wish the camera was more off to the left and looking up, and if we got more of this wall and more of the shadow, that'd be a little more dynamic and a little more obvious, because as it stands now, the monster shadows are a little bit low-key. But anyway, Cullen Bunn with Leiz doing the artwork, and I should have mentioned this last time, I just hadn't picked up the book yet, but Leiz was the same artist that did the last book you'll ever read with Cullen Bunn as well, and I'm reading through this, I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Probably review that on this channel in a little bit, but yeah, another Cullen Bunn project that Leiz had worked on. And the other side, we get the Shock Shop logo in this orange with a skeleton with leaves and stuff and this spirally pattern behind it, or is that 2 circles? But yeah, an interesting cover as well, kind of like the last one, earthy skeletons, stuff like that. And I guess I should mention a little bit, I did smudge the ink during the intro, actually. Comic ink on covers is getting so cheap lately, and I hate it when I smudge the ink, so I've been reading them, laying them down on a table and flipping through the pages so I don't actually have to touch them. I don't know, maybe comic shops should sell gloves nowadays, nice felt gloves. But I'm also covering, and I don't know if this review is out yet or not, Night of the Ghoul, which is another Dark Horse book, and this is a $4.99 book instead of a $3.99, and the ink on this cover is so good, I could touch it all day and it would never get smeared, and I really wish they would just make them all like this. I know this is a minor side rant, but I really hate, like, I was handling the book for like 5 minutes when I did that intro, and it still got smeared a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if you guys care. It may just be me doing a pedantic nerd thing. But anyway, each book is going to have the credits on the inside, and then we jump into the host segment. And of course, when you get to the middle of the book, you will have her telling you to turn the page around, and quite interestingly with Familiars, we do actually jump back to the host segment at the end of that one. But I also want to point out, after the turn the book around thing, there is an ad page in the middle, and in the ad page, we actually get an ad for Harrow County, the board game. The game of Gothic conflict, Harrow County, probably Cullen Bunn's most famous work, but they're trying to get the game going on Kickstarter right now, and it does look like an interesting Catan-inspired board game, so hopefully that Kickstarter goes through, because I'd definitely be interested in playing that. Anyway, let's talk about the stories a little bit. We open up, here's her in her comic/magic shop. A ton of really cool things to look at. A little shop of horrors plant down there. A haunted doll. A crawling hand is that Bruce Campbell's hand, or is that thing from Addams Family? Anyway, she introduces the book, and it's like, hey, the next chapter. So I do like, she's introducing like, hey, you came back for the next one, right? But we get familiars, and the kids are coming back, and of course, one of the kids spills the beans about the ghost. The parents don't believe it, think it's just some game or some story, some make-believe that he was telling them. But the mom's like, why'd you say ghost? Now she's gonna have nightmares, even though she's clearly not scared of them. But yeah, the stepfather is also mean to him during this scene, so it's like, hey, the kids liked it, they had a good weekend, but the adults still blamed me for stuff, so he is really frustrated there. Anyway, the kids are going to their house when they realize that the daughter forgot her little stuffed teddy bear, and she won't be able to sleep without it, so the angry stepfather has to go back and get the bear, and we see as he's driving in this conversation that he really is a mean guy. And then of course, you have conflict with someone who has supernatural allies. They're going to show up to his defense. And I do like, like last time we just saw the monsters a little bit towards the end, but we are seeing now that I think there's 3 of them, bat guy, skeleton guy, and eyeball guy. I think there's a solid 3. Let me flip more towards the end. I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, I think, we do get to know these creatures. It's not just an amorphous blob of creatures that I kind of felt like it would be at the end of the last issue. So it's not just a random mess of monsters. There are 3 of them, and I am kind of curious if over the course of the story, are they going to have more of a sense of identity about them, or we'll get to know their differences? And I guess that would depend on how long these plot arcs go for. Anyway, after that, Something in the Woods in the Dark, with art by Danny Luckert, and we get to see the hostess. She is stuffing a little squid monster inside a bag and board, and she goes, oh yeah, we find crazy stuff in the quarter boxes. This little guy, he doesn't go for much, but what if one day his son destroys a small town? Then everybody will be wanting this squid monster. And I do really like, she says it's a comic book shop. We've seen some of the comics, but man, that bag and board rack, that really makes it feel like a comic book shop, going in and flipping through all of those things and trying to find something. But anyway, jumping into the story itself, they find the dead body of the guy, Tom, and they start to go, oh man, is that him? Because he's so deteriorated. If you saw that, you would just assume it's a body that had been there for a while, but he is wearing Tom's clothing, so is it him or not? And I think that's his girlfriend, gets really upset and sad, and starts to say that they should stay there with him, but the others say, no, we gotta go get help. We don't know if the woods are dangerous, what if it's a disease or something, we gotta get out of there. So they begin their long hike home, and they, of course, it's taking longer, they're not 100% sure where they are, and they may have to make a camp out here in the haunted woods again for another night. As they're settling down, though, the girl who was worried earlier sees Tom in the woods, and it is interesting, there's the other girl that was the creature last time, so who is Tom over here? And that's really where I say this book is, that's the first indication that the plot is going to be a little more complex, because I thought it was just going to be that she's secretly the creature going into the woods and, picking them off one by one. But if it's not just her, what are the creature's powers? What does it take to get someone? How many people does it have? And yeah, how quickly will they last? This one, after this issue, I can see it really starting to burn pretty fast. But anyway, of course, the girl runs into the woods, and they have to bring a small troop, about half of them, maybe a little less, leave to go get the girl, and I'll leave you on this page where they see something horrific, but I won't flip past that. Anyway, overall, Shock Shop 2, pretty good. You know, like I said, I was a little worried, you know, getting half stories each time, how much would I remember, and how bad would the delay feel. Overall, so far, not that bad. If these stories run a long time, I may start to feel it more, but as of this moment, I think it's doing pretty well, so I will have to see. And like I said, at the end of Something in the Woods in the Dark, a bunch of stuff does happen, so I could definitely see that one going pretty fast, and, you know, maybe just trying to use my pacing senses, maybe this is going to be 4-issue plot arcs, because I think, you know, 3 might be calling it a little early, but 4 is kind of what they're trying to push nowadays. I could definitely see Something in the Woods in the Dark going for a solid 4 chapters, but that's just theorizing. They may actually do all 6. I don't know. So I'm curious how often these stories will change. But anyway, looking forward to see where they go. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This will probably be my Cullen Bunn playlist, where you can see me talk about a bunch of other of his works. For example, Shock Shop #1. I also talked about the first volume of Harrow County, and a really underrated book of his, The Unsound. I talked about that one as well. That was pretty good. So if you want to see me talk about more Cullen Bunn, that playlist will appear in the bottom. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.